We're going to be looking at another 2024 mock draft, and what we're going to do is go player by player, pick by pick, and speculate on their Dynasty Fantasy Football value considering they're drafted to a team in this alternate scenario. We're going to go over their draft capital, how they fit with this new team, how the Dynasty Fantasy Football market will value the player, and everything else. This mock draft's from ESPN. It's behind a paywall. So if you're just here to look at the mock draft, you may want to look at it anyways so you can see the mock draft for free. But before we do, you need to click that subscribe button right now. I'm going to get you ready for your Dynasty rookie drafts. We're going hot and heavy on that this offseason, talking about the players, going over the rankings, going over the values, going over the market, and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. But let's take a look at this mock draft real quick. This is Jordan Reed's mock draft from ESPN. And we're going to scroll through the picks. The first player off the board here for the Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams. And no surprise here with this pick. We're seeing him go as the first player off the board in a lot of mock drafts right now. Very hot, trendy subject, whether they keep Fields or draft Caleb Williams and do something with Fields. That being said, in this scenario, Fields is more than likely gone. They're drafting Caleb Williams here. And Caleb Williams is their new quarterback of the future. This does not change anything with Caleb Williams when it comes to his Dynasty Fantasy Football value, especially in Superflex. In Superflex, he's the 101, and people are locking him in there. People have been waiting for him to come out, and a lot of people have been speculating him to go to the Bears anyways. Most people has been. And if he doesn't, somebody's trading up. Someone's paying a haul. That means they want him. Caleb Williams, first player off the board in Dynasty Fantasy Football Superflex drafts. That being said, the only way he'll fall is if he falls in the actual NFL draft. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Does not look like that's going to happen at all unless something pops up. But let's move on to the next pick here. Pick 2, the Washington Commanders, and they select Drake Maye. Drake Maye is expected to be the second quarterback off the board. He is expected to be a top-tier Superflex asset. In mock drafts for Dynasty Fantasy Football, usually goes around the 102, 103 range, usually right after Marvin Harrison Jr., but also sometimes ahead of him. Really depends on the Superflex value in that league. With that being said, he's going to be taking over Sam Howell's spot, his former teammate over at North Carolina. He's going to have some upside there. He will have some weapons, but they're going to be looking to build around him. Like any quarterback, he's going to have some capital behind him, so they're going to be looking to build around him. They're going to give him a little bit longer leash, and when it comes to his Dynasty Fantasy Football value, I look for him to be drafted around 102, 103 range. I don't look for anything to change because he's drafted 2 overall. Top tier draft capital here, which means he's going to have good opportunity to possibly blossom in this offense, especially if they build around him. Moving on to the next pick. Patriots select Jayden Daniels here. And drafting Jayden Daniels, you know the Patriots are making some big changes here. Bill Belichick's gone. He's not there anymore. Mayo's in at the head coaching spot. They're going to make some changes. They're going to add some wide receivers, especially if they draft Jayden Daniels in this spot. If that happens, they're looking to restructure this team. They should be restructuring this team. They should be restructuring this wide receiver core. And they also got to start at the quarterback position because that hasn't been good either. That being said, now looking at what we have here, is it Drake Maye or Jayden Daniels as the QB2? I think things are going to change up as we get deeper in the offseason. I think the Jayden Daniels hype is going to build, and I think he's even going to be the QB2 in NFL mock drafts here soon as well, as people speculate what the NFL is going to do going forward. That being said, even though he's going to the Patriots, people are still going to spend up a little bit for him in rookie drafts. People are probably going to take him since he's going to the Patriots, since we got a transition process, since people are very sus when they look at the Patriots and their ability to draft wide receivers, and Tom Brady's gone, which, of course, because they're drafting Jayden Daniels, they're going to be seeing this as a slow developmental process because the weapons aren't there yet. That being said, you might be able to catch them at a discount when you read the tea leaves of the market. But we go to the next pick here, and we're staying trendy here with Marvin Harrison Jr. He is the 4th pick to the Arizona Cardinals in a lot of mock drafts. I don't think this changes anything because we're expecting him to go in this range, go to a team like this, expect him to be the guy, expect him to eventually earn like a 30+% target share, if not 25% plus, and be a top tier wide receiver. And people are already ranking him up there with the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, holding that value. And with him already holding that value, and even though you may like Malik Nabers better, you may want to just roll with the value and see if you can flip later if you don't like, or see if you can do something else, or hold him over a barrel, whatever you can do. But this is not going to cause his stock to drop, him going to the Arizona Cardinals or any other team, because he's locked in there. He's the Bijan Robinson of this class. The market has been waiting on him over the last few years, and he's going to be getting that draft capital. And with him getting the draft capital in this draft class at 4 overall, he's going to get the go-ahead to be one of the top draft picks. Chargers, on the other hand, they draft Malik Nabers here, and the thought on this is it's either Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Nabers. Who are you taking in this scenario? Because Nabers is going in a better scenario, and he's got pretty much the same draft capital. Pretty much the same, and similar upside, whether you believe it or not. Both very productive when you look at the metrics there from an ownership standpoint when it comes to market share. Also, the highlight reels for both these guys, the tape is insane. Both of them put the stamp down. Malik Nabers is dominant. Marvin Harrison Jr. is very technical, strong hands. Both of them playmakers. Both of them, when you're scrolling Twitter on a Saturday, you're seeing their highlights pop up left and right while they're playing, and they just take over social media with their play. That's the type of playmakers we're seeing by these two. And now we're going to have a conundrum. We're going to have a dichotomy. Whether you want it or not, that pick right there will create a dichotomy between those two wide receivers. A lot of people are just going to lock Marvin Harrison Jr. in, and they're going to roll with that. But again, the smart move is at least think about it. Think outside the box. See what you want. Malik Nabers, a little bit cheaper, a pick or two cheaper than Marvin Harrison Jr., depending on what format you're playing in, whether super flex or 1QB, is always a great consolation prize if you could not get him. And our next pick, Odunze going to the Giants. And this is a fun one because the Giants has been stocking up with slot receivers over the last few years. And he's getting the draft capital. He's kind of a deep threat. He can get downfield. He's got size. So he's going to get air yards. And we know they like to push the ball downfield. That's part of their offense. So he's going to be getting opportunities to succeed. People don't trust the Giants. However, he's getting the draft capital. He's got the pedigree coming out of college here with the market share production, being productive this year, being considered one of the top wide receivers in the draft. It was in last year's draft. He would be fighting for the wide receiver 1 spot in the draft when it comes to the production profiles, the college profiles, and everything else. Odunze is a guy that's probably going to fall around the same spots in the draft, around the 105, 106, 107 range. Really depends in Superflex how the quarterbacks are being valued and if there are any running backs from day 2 that just sneaks up there, because that could happen. But the market is going to put Odunze, if this happens, around the same spot, around there. Let's go look down here. Tennessee Titans go with an offensive tackle. The Falcons go with an edge rusher. The Bears go with an edge rusher from Alabama. Jets go with an offensive tackle. Vikings go with a defensive tackle. Broncos get their quarterback after they run off Russell Wilson. Interesting here. We do have some pieces here with this team, but we're going to have to see how he develops. They're also spending decent draft capital. 11th overall, top end first round pick. Not top 10, but we're close. We're close. And he had some moments with Michigan this year, and he's a ball player. He can be mobile. He can sling it downfield. We got to see how he develops in the offense. That being said, when we're pegging Dynasty Fantasy Football value here, considering the draft capital, probably back end of the first round in Superflex. Going to be down there in 1QB because 1QB is 1QB and really depends on the depth of the waiver wire and if you can plug and play with waiver wire QBs. But since he's a first-round pick in Superflex, he's going to flirt in the back end of the first round. If the wide receivers run hot in this draft, or in the second round, third round, this draft only goes through the first round, then he could get pushed to the second round. If the running backs run hot in day 2 in this draft, then he could get pushed to the second round. That could be a factor here. But the value is going to be here if he gets drafted this high. They're going to look to build around him. People love Mims. People are interested in Sean Payton. People want to see what happens. But considering the draft capital, considering super flex values, there's going to be a lot of leagues where he gets chased up the board. That being said, we're moving on. Kool-Aid goes to the Raiders. Saints draft an offensive tackle, Brock Bowers, to the Colts. Anthony Richardson gets another weapon, and that's what the Colts should be doing. Getting him weapons, getting him as functional as possible, and getting him a top-end tight end with speed that can get downfield, that can really help him in the passing game. You got Josh Downs in the slot. You got Michael Pittman on the outside. You got some playmakers here. You got to make it so if Anthony Richardson busts, it's because it's not on you. You gave him the pieces. It's on him. If you don't give him the pieces and he busts, then it could be on you as well, the general management team, for not allowing him to get the pieces to really elevate his game. If you get him a guy like Brock Bowers develops, give him a couple years, maybe a year. We saw Sam Laporta. Give him some time. We got an offense here that could be very explosive, especially with how mobile Anthony Richardson is. When we look at Dynasty Fantasy Football value here with Brock Bowers, we're going to see Brock Bowers drafted around the same spot. A lot of people can't miss on Brock Bowers. They love the tight end spot. They like to pay up for the tight end spot. There's only a few valuable tight ends in fantasy, and then after that, it's a crapshoot. That being said, when you get a tight end like Brock Bowers, who you've been waiting for to come out for the draft since his freshman season, and even before that, depending if you study recruiting, Brock Bowers is a guy that's going to hold value. He's going to be a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. Really depends on how your rookie draft evolves, but he's going to hold that value like we've been seeing in the mock drafts, because he's going to be a first rounder. He's going to go to an interesting situation. Could be the Bengals. We saw that in another mock draft. But again, that's why we're going over different mock drafts, to go over these different situations to try and peg the values. Seattle goes with a guard. Jacksonville goes with Keon Coleman. Interesting. And people in the Dynasty market, they love themselves some Trevor Lawrence. And this could be a good fit for him, considering he's going to stay in Florida, considering he's a different type of wide receiver than compared to a lot of those that's hit out of the first round. He's not that small, quick guy that creates separation. He's that guy that gets downfield. He's a contested catch specialist. You throw it up there, he brings it in. If he clicks with Trevor Lawrence, if that marriage goes right, you could see him hit and be a top-end wide receiver. You look at the production metrics, though, it's kind of scary. He's definitely going to be drafted behind Odunze, even though Odunze is going to the Giants. Odunze is just a better prospect. He's also getting a little bit better draft capital here, but Keon Coleman's not falling out of first round in this scenario. He's just not. He's probably going to be drafted somewhere in the middle of the first round, especially in Superflex and 1QB. 1QB a little bit higher, of course, because the quarterbacks ain't there to dilute things down. But when we're looking at this is an optimal situation. If he doesn't hit in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, something is definitely up. That being said, if he goes this spot, he's going to hold value, if not gain it a little bit, might push on some hype. And the NFL saying, hey, we like this guy, so you might as well roll with him. Bengals go offensive tackle. Packers go cornerback. Bucks go edge. Steelers go tackle. Cardinals go cornerback. Rams go tackle. Dolphins go tackle. Chiefs go Brian Thomas, wide receiver from LSU. Interesting spot here. They drafted Rashee Rice in the second round last year. Sky Moore in the second round the year prior. Back into the first round. We know there's wide receivers here. Knowing the landscape of this draft, they might wait to the second round again. Just knowing in real life. But pegging Brian Thomas here in the first round to the Chiefs, that might buoy him ahead of Keon Coleman, because Chiefs wide receivers get that privilege on the market. They get buoyed up there. That's just how the game's played. That's just how Dynasty Twitter is. That is just how people play the game in Dynasty. They see Patrick Mahomes. They see the offense. They see that wide receiver depth chart and how it looked this year, and they see a first-round wide receiver coming in. They're instantly going to see that wide receiver, peg him in there, and say, hey, he's going to get opportunity. He's in a great offense. Might as well roll with it. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's starting to be a first-round pick in a lot of rookie mock drafts. He's slept on for a little bit there over the last few weeks. We covered some rookie mock drafts on the channel. He was missing in the first round, some of those, but also in some of those, he's been in there. Look for him to be like a mid-round option. He's going to push Keon Coleman in the rankings there. He's not going to push Odunze. There might be a few people who might like him over Odunze, though, because he's going to the Chiefs. And I'm not saying that's the take. I'm saying I'm trying to read the market. I'm saying there's probably going to be like 5 out of 100 people, 10 out of 100 people that like that, or something like that. But the majority would like Odunze over him. But considering he's going to this situation, the market's going to push him up a little bit because he's going to get that Chiefs privilege. That being said, we're moving on. Houston Texans go defensive tackle. Eagles go cornerback. Detroit Lions go edge. Bills, Adonai Mitchell. And you know what? For Mitchell, that's a good fit. That's a good fit for him because he's a deep ball guy. He racks up air yards. And Josh Allen likes to rack up air yards. He's going to take over Gabe Davis' spot in this situation. In this situation, Gabe Davis moves on. They're going to draft him. And now he's filling in as a deep ball guy. He's also going to get some Bills privilege because this is a perfect match. You're probably back in first round, maybe even middle of the first round. He's going to push Keon Coleman. He's going to push Brian Thomas. He's going to push those guys because he landed in the perfect situation. A good offense, but also a good offense for him, because he's going to be getting those deep balls. This is one of those offenses in the league where a guy like him can go and be productive over time because he just fits there with his long game because they throw the long ball. We saw that with Gabe Davis. We're getting a wide receiver that can get it downfield. And if he's seeing routes, if he's seeing targets and opportunities, that means he's going to be a splash play guy, and you can use splash play guys off and on in Dynasty. However, if he really clicks there, he could be a top-tier guy. That being said, the worst thing happens, and that's the same with any of these wide receivers, is if they bust. But downside, if he's getting opportunities and looking somewhat good, splash play guy in this offense, like Gabe Davis. The upside here is he splashes in this Bills offense and is consistent. That being said, we're moving on. Cowboys gets a center. Ravens go edge, and I think we might be done. And the Niners go with a quarterback. The last draft had 2 random second-round picks, but this is it for this 2024 mock draft from ESPN that was made by Jordan Reed here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We covered some dichotomies on player values, trying to guess the market. Not guessing how we would rank them, but guessing the market. Because, again, we can rank players, but if you're not in the spot to draft them, it doesn't really matter unless that ranking's close to that area. That being said, read the tea leaves in your market. Look at the trades in your league over the last few years right now so you can get ahead of the indicators of your league mates so you can get an idea of what they want to do with their drafts so you can make moves so you can exploit their way of playing the game to maximize your values. That's what you should be doing right now. Going over your league history, looking at the trades that have been made, and trying to see what the other gamers in your league likes. Who they want, how they trade, what they value. Do they like young guys? Do they like draft picks? Do they trade their draft picks away for veterans? How often do they move up? Are they stagnant? Figure that stuff out right now so you can make a plan for your moves now or later when things start getting hot on the markets again, because things cool off right now in January and then starts to ramp up as we get closer to rookie draft time. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. I mean, you've watched the video to this point. You might as well, so you don't miss out any more of these videos because I kept you entertained. Thank you for watching, though. Catch you on the next video.